Yo, welcome back, everybody. Can't believe we're doing another episode. Like I said last week, I'm trying to get into the groove of things with this whole podcast deal. So this is week 2 of this year, and this is episode 8, which I'm super proud of. We're trying to grind to get to that first 50 episodes, and I think at that point, I'll have a very good idea of like what you guys like and what you guys don't like. But yeah, if you're new here, welcome to Billionaires Therapy. This is where I talk about things that I'm learning in my journey as an entrepreneur. And this is kind of like also where I share my personal lessons that I've learned along the way, but then, also manage that with my business lessons that I've learned. And, there's a lot that happened in the past week since I've last talked to you guys. And I think that I've gotten quite a bit of feedback, which is kind of good. I think for the most part, it's just people saying that it was good, which I appreciate, but I also would like some really, really good feedback that may be harsh, but I'm open to everything, and I want to keep learning, and I just want to keep getting better at this whole thing. I really enjoyed last week's episode, and I hope you guys did too. I think it got me on the right track with everything, but I kind of want to try something in this episode for the first time in Billionaires Therapy, and I kind of want to keep doing this. I want to do like a fit check. So, fit for today, Polo Ralph, long sleeve, nothing too fancy. Got my Apple Watch. And then I got these like thrifted, like pleated, really nice, like buckled, like I don't need a belt for these pants, like navy blue, and they're just like work pants. And then I always, if you guys don't know, I stick with my Air Forces. That's all I ever wear, really, just my Air Forces and white socks underneath. So that's the fit check for today. I think that I'm really comfortable and I'm ready to get this show on the road, so let's do it. Okay, so personal lesson. I think that this is really exciting for me to talk about because I am currently going through it, and I think a lot of people my age are going through it as well. And I want to start off by saying, anything that I say in this podcast, I want to cut out a lot of things just because there's personal, people in my life that maybe would think differently or whatever the case may be, and I don't want to start anything. These are simply just things that I'm going through in my life and that I want to talk about, and it's never going to be specifically talking about just one particular person in my life. It's always going to be like, just lessons that I've learned with my interactions with people or lack thereof. So I hope that straightens everything out. And I think that this is a great way for me, like I said, to talk about my experience. So I want to start off by talking about this story that I have. So in 2018, I went to a business conference, one of the biggest ones that you could possibly go to as an entrepreneur. And 2018, I think I was just about to turn 21. So at this point, this was in February, I was 20. So I was 20 years old, walking around Las Vegas at this business conference. And there was obviously a lot of huge people there. I don't want to name the conference at this moment because I don't want to give them, kind of like a free shout out. But I met Michael Jordan's trainer, Tim Grover, there. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll play the clip right now.
Oh, you said the top 5 people in your life are a summation of who you are. I was just telling them that, and I just ran into you. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How about
Good.
yourself?
You want to say something to them about the top 5 people in your life?
Listen, I'm not going to mention the top 5 people in my life because it constantly changes. But listen, the one thing about it, the first 2 I can always remember are my parents. Those are definitely 2. They've always had the biggest influence on them. The third one is Michael. Okay, everybody knows that.
Yeah, MJ.
Fourth one is Kobe.
I love Kobe.
And I'm not going to tell you the 5th one. I'm going to let you guys guess. All right, there you go.
Nice to meet you, man. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Part of the reason why he's saying the things that he was saying in the video is that, this message that a lot of people hear all the time, especially when you're going through a self-development phase and an entrepreneurship as well, it's that your network is your net worth. And you hear that a lot. People say that a lot. People throw it out there, blah, blah, blah. And at some point in my life, in 2018 up to until recently, I really pushed back on that idea because ideally what I wanted wasn't that. It wasn't that idea of like, you grew up in a small town, you move out and, in some ways, you leave your friends that you grew up with. And I know that's like part of life. And I think that's just how the culture is here in America. But the issue is with me is that I grew up in the Philippines, right? And when I turned 10, I moved to America. So like my friends that I had in the Philippines, I no longer really had a connection with them when I moved here. I mean, of course, initially when I first did, there was still some sort of communication back and forth. But over the years, it became extremely difficult to maintain. And that's to no one's fault. And actually, just recently when I came back to the Philippines for the first time early this year, I met up with them again and it was like nothing ever changed. It was a really, really fun time. Of course, I had family like wanting to meet me and hang out with me. So it was only like one night that I really got to hang out with them. But nothing really ever changed in just being friends. The way my life panned out with being an immigrant, like I said in the last video, is that like I never really had a set of friends that I've had, which I know a lot of kids here in America have, which is like somebody that you grew up with, literally when you were a kid and all the way until, you're an adult. And that's really a small percentage of people out there, but I never had a set like group of friends that really like stuck with me all throughout the years. So that's why I found that idea difficult to manage with, because, ideally what I had wanted was to have a group of friends, which at that time in 2018, I had a lot of friends that I would consider to be really close friends, and I wanted to grow up with them and, figure out this whole entrepreneurship life, this online entrepreneurship life, and push each other to make, at least a livable income through the internet and travel the world and do all this fun stuff. And, everything that you see on Instagram and, people talk about that like, oh yeah, I'm traveling with my friends to, here, and here. And we all have our online businesses and da-da-da. Like that was kind of like what I wanted in a sense of like a friend group. In that case, my friend group at the time in 2018 and also up until recently. But a personal lesson that I've learned is that that's not, how life works. And, over time you start to realize like the friends that you grew up with, like in high school, maybe like your college friends, they want different things that you want. And so in some ways it's nobody's fault, but people just grow apart. And that's just how life goes. And, in college, which was about a couple years ago, I've always thought that the friends I had at that time were going to be my close friends forever, and that I wanted them to be in my wedding and I wanted to be in theirs. And frankly, I just don't think that's the case anymore. I'm at the age now, I'm 25, I'm coming up on 26 here in a couple months. And I'm slowly starting to realize that like I'm losing a lot of like my college friends. Ones that I was like extremely close to and I was extremely, proud to call my friend. And that's fine. That's completely fine. That's just how things go. And I think what makes my journey a little bit more interesting is that, I'm chasing something that a lot of people would consider to be extremely ridiculous. And at the surface level, it does look like that. But when you really dig around and start to understand like my perspective on it, like it all kind of does make sense. And I have this special opportunity in my life to swing the bat and, go for the home run. And I don't think I want to stop at any time soon. And that makes it interesting with friend dynamics because, not everybody's going to be on the same trajectory or want to ride the same ride that you're on when you're trying to do something that is, considered ridiculous in some cases. So with that being said, the past couple of years, like I said, just been losing friends. And at the same time, I'm starting to readjust, how I really look at friendships. And in some cases, it makes it even harder for me to go out there and make new friends because, I just don't know really like what a good friend looks like anymore. Cause like 2 years ago, I had a group of friends that, like I said, I thought was going to be a forever thing, but slowly phasing them out of my life and how my life is set up now, it's completely different. And my perspective on it has changed a lot. And having such intimate and close, like best friends, like it made it really difficult for me, or has made it really difficult for me these days to make new friends. Because for me, it seems to me like a lot of things are forced. It seems to me like some friendships are only happening because of benefits in terms of like financially to push forward a career or a business, which is fine. And I totally understand that. But to me, those people are more like acquaintances. And it's really hard to come across people who are just genuinely there just because they care about you. And I do feel like a lot of people my age truly understand that concept where you're in your mid-20s and you want to make more friends. And I think that's actually part of the reason why it's kind of difficult to make new friends, is because people my age, especially in the internet world and the internet age that we're in, I think a lot of people understand that like sometimes friends don't naturally happen because a lot of us are smarter now. We can see through all the bullshit. Like we can see when someone's just trying to be our friend just for financial reasons, which is completely fine, like I said. But at the same time, I feel like the best way to make friends these days is to make everything apparent in the beginning. And that includes, if you just want to hook up with somebody, I think that should be clear and out there. And if you're just trying to do business with someone, and I think it's hard because the people that are, in our 20s, we're just getting started on our entrepreneurship journey and our business journey. Like it's kind of hard to just go out there and say, hey, I'm just trying to do business with you. And if we become friends, like that's good. But I think the intent needs to be very clear. And I think that needs to happen in every single new relationship that comes out, when you're past college and, it's not a work deal. I think everything needs to be kind of like the intent needs to be there. And I think that's probably the best way to go about it. And by the way, I'm not excused from that. I need to be better about making my intent clear with everything that I do, everyone that I meet, whether it's just wanting to do business or like, hey, like I'm actually interested in getting to know you, or like, hey, I want you to teach me how to play chess, which by the way, if you still haven't added me yet, please do. But I think just making the intent clear, I think is very important these days. And that's hard to do. And with that being said, like I do need to be a lot better about making new friends, or at least being open to making new friends, because it does get, this whole journey does get a little bit lonely. And that's probably one of those things that people who have made it that we look up to, or maybe even see online. And when they talk about their sacrifices, I do think that that's particularly one of the ones that they remember, just how lonely the road really gets. I think that what I've learned and what I've always been told growing up and trying to be in business and trying to be an entrepreneur is that like the better you get at what you do, the more masterful you get at what you do, the higher up you climb, the thinner it is, meaning like there's not a lot of people up there. And I think that, I'm nowhere near where I want to be yet, obviously, but I think that the higher I climb, the more I keep going, the less friends I'm seeing going up there. And I wish that was different. I really do. And I don't know that it's my job in anybody's life to be, hey, like join this journey with me or whatever the case may be. And also it's my fault because like I haven't really like sat down with any of my friends and be like, hey, like this is the journey I'm on. Do you want to hop on and like help me out and figure this out together, and we can, make money along the way. And I think that maybe I'm scared at some points to even mention something like that to any one of my friends. So I think, the best thing I can do right now is to just be a good friend as best as I possibly could be to, who's still around. Because I think that for me, like I said, I don't think it's my job to be like, hey, this is what I'm trying to build. This is what I wanted to do. I mean, I want you to join with me. Actually, Alex Hormozy talked about this in a tweet I think I saw the other day, where he talks about like working with friends and how that could work. And I think he said something along the lines of like, if you bring a friend on and it works out, great. You have a great business and you have a great friend. And if you bring a friend in and it doesn't work out, you still have a great business. You potentially could lose a friend. So that's always something that I'm scared of and I'm wary of when I'm thinking about asking a friend to join and help me out. Thankfully, in the 6 years that I've tried to be in business, there's only one person that I ran across who was business relationship first, turned out to be a friend, and then ended up not working out at the very end, and it was pretty sour. But I think that I learned my lesson pretty quickly. Hey, that's pretty good. In 6 years, all the people that I've met in business, all my friends, there's only one person that it turned sour with. And I think that really speaks to my character and like trying to understand and navigate things when I'm talking through my relationships with my friends, my business partners, and like how I'm managing expectations with everybody. I think I've done a pretty good job, and I think I'd like to keep it that way for a while. But these days, though, I do question a lot of my friendships in terms of like maintaining them for the long run. When I look at the whole thing, I get scared because I keep thinking like, okay, I'm gonna keep growing. I want to keep meeting new people, and I want to keep moving forward in my relationships and my career and in my network. I want to keep building my network out. The close friends that I grew up with, I want to keep maintaining the friendship, but at some point they're gonna have to play the game that I'm playing too, because I just feel like looking forward, I want to play against the big boys, and I want to make a name for myself clearly out there. And one day it's all going to come together, and I'm going to have to look around and see, which friendships are worth maintaining. And that's really difficult, but that's just part of life, like I said previously in this podcast. So anyways, let me digress. That is a personal lesson that I've learned recently and that I wanted to bring up, and I hope that you guys took something out of it, because I surely did. Let's move on to Six Rings Media. So the Six Rings Media. Very interesting spot, like I talked about last week in the podcast. I feel like I'm constantly trying to steer this ship into the right direction, and I think that today I made the right move with doing that. The reason why I felt like I made a great decision today in steering the ship, the Six Rings Media ship, as to where it needs to go, is that I have been working a specific connect that I met a while ago. I think sometime last year, we got connected, and she has been really great. This lady is one of the realest people I've ever met in my life. Not just in business, and I would say in business, she's definitely top 5 people that I can trust. And that's really crazy to say, because if you know anything about America and business in America, is that like finding someone that you can trust is really, really difficult, especially with all the ads and everything that people tell you on the media these days. just the fact that this relationship happened organically. I went to a networking event. I went to it was actually an opening for this building in town. And I ran into her, and she works for a really, really respected group that helps out business owners in town. And so once I got connected with her, and I realized that maybe there was some way that we could help out each other. I have marketing services that I want to give out to a lot of people in my city, in Topeka, and also in Lawrence, in Kansas City, and in Manhattan. So I thought that there was some sort of like synergy there that I wanted to work with. But like I said, going back to her, I think that she's, top 5 people that I've met so far in business that I could really trust. And I really appreciate that. And that's actually one of the reasons why I feel like I'm still in a blessed position, is to have someone like her in my corner. And so, I've been working with her for quite some time now. And today we met up and figured things out as to how we could work together. And that was really, really, really good. And so she's going to try to connect me with a lot of the business owners in town. So I'm really excited for that. I think this is a new position that I think Six Rings Media is going to dive into. Previously, we've worked with people that are, outside the city. So I think that like being anywhere near here is going to be great for me, because I don't have to, drive far to meet with them. But then also we also have Zoom. I think that's probably going to be how a lot of the consultation calls are going to go. Initially, I want to just do consultation and just figure out, what that looks like. And if it works out and my business partner and I can think of ways to help them out and they fit into our system that we want to run, then, they're more than welcome to hop on another call with me and figure out if there's some way that we could work together, that we can find mutual benefit within the contracts that we have and the services that we offer. I think that's probably how I want to play this out. But like I said, I'll keep you guys updated within this. But, that's a lesson that I'm learning too in business these days, is that like sometimes what we see online, especially people like me, people my age that are guys, we see a lot of like finance gurus and tech bros and NFT this and social media that, whatever the case is. There's a lot of like people out there who are preaching, you can sit in your laptop in your room and make a lot of money doing this, doing X, whatever the case is. At some point, when you're wanting to build a real business, you have to get out there and introduce yourself to the marketplace, the real marketplace. You actually have to go out there and shake some hands and introduce yourself and really have people understand like what you offer and who you are and what your business is. I think more specifically in the last year, I have learned a lot about networking, especially with the people that I work for. Actually, this is their logo, CPM, Creative Pathways and Means. They have introduced me to ways to network and get around people and really just, like I said, make your intentions clear with people in business. And so I think that, for me, the past 6 months, I've worked really hard to network and really just get in the right rooms with the right people. And this lady is one of them. And I think that I'm just trying to position myself first in terms of like the long run, to have relationships that I know are fruitful in more ways than one. And I think that my relationship with her is going to be great because I can help her out and help out her network of business people. And I think that's going to be really fun for me, because if there's one thing I can do all day, it's talk business all day. I can wake up, and if all I ever did was talk business and put together plans and marketing plans and whatever the case is, like I would love to do that for the rest of my life. But back to what I was trying to say about networking. Sure, if you have money and you have time, you can spend all of that and, build content and run ads against them and be known around your area. And, you can look at the engagement, you can look at the numbers as a way of like having people know you. That's not how I want to do business anymore. I actually want to go out there, especially past COVID or post COVID. Like I want to actually go out there to Kansas City, to Lawrence, to Manhattan, to Topeka, to Junction City. And, even in LA with my family being there, I want to go out there and shake hands and meet people and introduce myself. And I think, I'm finding excitement in that because I'm confident in like what I can do, and I'm confident in what Six Rings can bring to the table. And so I'm actually super excited to start doing that again. And I think that for the next couple of years, actually, I want to be able to work really hard on communicating what I do and how I do it. And that's going to come with practice. I think that sometimes, a lot of people look at people skills and think that it just comes naturally. I think for me, I was always an introvert. I never really wanted to meet people. I don't care about, having small talk. And I think a lot of people know that actually. I want to get right to the point. And I think for me, being introverted, I had to get out of that. And I took the last all of last year to really break out of my shell and like be confident and looking people in the eyes and shaking hands and introducing myself. And I think I want to keep doing more of that. Like I said, I think you guys need to realize, like, you know, we have to work together. And the only way I think that genuinely happens is like when we go out there and actually shake hands and see if there's anything that we can do to help each other out, no matter how difficult that may seem. We have to get out there and actually meet each other. So yeah, I think actually a funny story is that like my dad growing up, obviously we were, you know, learning English and learning how to get around. And later on in my high school years, you know, he got pretty good at introducing himself and negotiating deals. And actually, Dad, if you're watching this, I thought about you the whole time I was in college and studying communications. I always thought about how you presented yourself every time that you had to get yourself in these situations. My most vivid memory was like in the pawn shops. But, you know, when you would go there and negotiate and talk to people, I took a lot of lessons from that. And I think that's what I'm trying to do now with my own work and my own business. So yeah, if you're watching this, Dad, you're one of my inspirations into what I'm getting into, and with building a communications company and just being good at what I do and introducing myself. I think that you had a great role and part into what I do in my life. And so it's a really funny story if you ever get to meet my dad and ask him about the negotiations and in the pawn shops. So yeah. So anyways, that's it. It's a really short episode, but I think there was a lot of lessons packed in here. If you want to add me on chess.com, it's Ethan VS The World. If you want to follow me on all my social medias, it's just Ethan Lagahid. If you want to check out my website, which is going to be up hopefully when this is out, sixringsmedia.com. We offer advertising services and marketing in general. So if we can help you out, you know, we'd love to hop on a call. Let me know if you need anything. So yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. And oh yeah, go Chiefs. Okay, see you later, guys.